Hello everyone, I've got a garden behind me here. Now I've been very bad about doing any other updates or reviews of this garden up until today. It's early August, so I've done a lot to get to this point, and maybe next year I can document it a little bit better. I just kind of wanted to show you what the garden is doing. It's actually doing quite well. This is the best season I've ever had, and I'll show you what's in here and some of the things I've done, some of the things that didn't work, and what I'm looking forward to here in the next couple of weeks. So this is the first bed that I did many years ago, probably about 5 years ago. I put this together. It's a typical, was it probably 4x8 bed. Just cut those decorative logs in half. You can see my cucumbers gotten a little out of control in terms of height. I'll talk about that in a minute. Down here, I tried a couple of new things. I got a raspberry plant, and I've also got something in a 5-gallon bucket. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then finally, this was expanded about 3 years ago, twice the size of that first bed. Got a lot of tomatoes in there, and we'll kind of focus in on that a little bit too. All right, the cucumbers are growing about 8 or 9 feet tall. I really didn't think this through very carefully. And you can see it's early August now, so some of the leaves are starting to, cucumbers kind of get old. They stop producing a little bit. You can still get a lot out of them though, but the leaves start turning a little bit brown and I have to do a little more trimming. This thing is so tall that I had to add these little white support posts because I was afraid a good thunderstorm wind would knock that thing over. And I hope that I've secured it enough to get through this season anyway. Then we got a pepper plant here. Banana peppers doing quite well. I need to pick them, they're way too big. And then again, planting is everything. There's a jalapeno plant down in there. The basil plant is completely freaking out of control. That's this one right here. We do a lot of things with this. We make pesto. We'll make just, mozzarella ball and fresh basil salad with cucumbers sometimes. We can actually freeze these whole. That's a good preservative. I've got watermelon down here. Now this guy I found is an orphan in the other bed. That's because I let some melons rot either last year or the year before. And so I just felt sorry for the poor little seedling. I could tell it was a watermelon that was trying to grow. And the only fruit that I've gotten off this so far is this guy right here. It was looking pretty good, but nothing else on this vine is producing any fruit right now. And that might be all I get. And then we'll come around here. This is the back side of the cucumbers here. Again, there's quite a few on here that'll still blossom. And I had to put an extender pole on here because these were getting out of hand over here. Now this is something I tried this year. This is a self-wicking, this is an eggplant, and it's self-wicking in that I have a 1-gallon milk jug down in there and that PVC pipe connects to that. All I have to do is fill that up and it wicks from the bottom up. Now this already did produce a fruit. I don't think it's going to produce another one, which is too bad because it's looking very, very healthy. And as you can see, the leaves are a little diseased. Something is having a field day munching on my leaves. And I really haven't done a lot to monitor this one. Next year I would, turn these leaves over and take a look at what's on here and pay a little more attention to what's going on. This raspberry baffles me. It was actually, some of the other vines were producing fruit earlier, and then they just died. And this one's still going strong. Of course, as raspberries do, they propagate from one point on the ground to the next. So this guy's going over here. So he's, what's alive is alive, but it's not going to produce fruit this year anymore, and may not even next year. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that guy. All right, now this bed. I've got a marigold problem. I read somewhere online that marigolds were a good deterrent for some pests. So I grew them, and they have gotten out of hand. As you can see here, I've trimmed them back a little bit. There's some yellow ones there. And I'd have to go back and even try to remember why or which pests I was trying to get rid of. They're fine. They're just a little big. The tomatoes are doing quite well. They're unruly, as you can see here. Even though I tried doing some trimming of the indeterminates early on in the season, they're coming out here and reaching the ground. They're on top of the marigolds. They're all over the place. And I've got some winners here. And take a look at these guys right back in here. Those are doing quite nicely. Very nice fruit. They really need to be picked right now. It's always the battle about, letting them get as red as possible on the vine and then taking a chance that something is going to start munching on them. This is a very dense tomato field here. I've got 8 plants right there alone, 4 and 4, and then 3 Romas right there. So That might prevent, it might protect them a little bit more from pests or other predators. I don't know for sure. And if you're asking me what type of tomatoes these are big boys, and I think the smaller ones are the better boys. And they've gotten intermixed and tangled. See, this one's growing on top of the Roma plants. It's a little out of control, I will admit, but it has been a very good harvest for me. Very good season so far, and we are far from done. On the other side of the tomato patch, we've got a mixture of grape tomatoes, which are doing very, very nicely, and also some cherry tomatoes. I think I have 2 plants, and I'm picking these just daily. I mean, we have a lot of these growing, so no doubt. And again, this is so dense. Again, it kind of protects the plants in a way. Makes it kind of hard to harvest. I have to really get in there. I mean, I put a pathway in there of rocks, but it's, you're kind of wading through the jungle to get to the fruit in the middle there, but that has not been too bad. Again, this is probably the largest marigold plant. This one's completely out of control. I actually had to trim that one back a little bit. I got 2 jalapeno plants right there. They're doing quite nicely. There's fruit underneath there. I see a red one. I've already got some upstairs. My son takes these and he makes wonderful stuffed jalapenos with cheese. Oh my gosh, when bacon wrapped, they're so good. A lot of green peppers, a lot of them on the vine right now. I need to process these. This is the one vegetable that I'm having trouble coming up with what to do with them. I mean, we use them, we make salsa and stuff, but I've got so many, I'm not quite sure what to do. And then my determinant tomatoes, which are right here, my Romas. And sometimes I'll call these plum tomatoes. And if I did in this video, I apologize. It's just an old habit I have, and it may be acceptable to call them plum tomatoes. I don't know, but they're determinant means that what you see here is what they're going to produce, and that's it. But I usually use these for ketchup. And I'm going to have a lot, and I'll have another video coming out here soon on how I do that, the ketchup producing process as well. And then this is my support system for the tomatoes. I have these fencing posts here. I think they're 7-foot posts with some conduit on top of there. And then that netting right there does come in handy. It's a shade netting, and I actually will only deploy it when it's a combination of high sun index, which is right around the solstice in June, and high temperatures. This year I got so much fruit here that I'm not really too concerned about deploying that, even though we did have a run here earlier in the week. A nice cold front moved through here this morning. Feels really good, but we did have mid to upper 90s for a few days there. I probably should have done it, but I don't think my plants have suffered any. And then the support system is, well, I just have these, again, I had these quarter round stakes that I drilled holes in, and I've got this nylon rope, and there's 3 levels of those that run all the way across. And that did a job early on of supporting these quite well. It was imagined that some of these plants would actually be over the top of there. And in fact, if I grab some of them and stop letting them just grow everywhere, that would be the case. But again, they're not harming anything. They're on top of those Romas, and they're doing just fine. My watering system is just basically a soaker hose, which I connect right there with a quick disconnect. It works out really well. I water every other day for about 20 to 25 minutes. And I do have some mulch down in there. You can see the soaker hose probably. I could probably throw some more mulch on top of that. Again, the plants themselves tend to protect and stop evaporation at some level here. But these front row ones especially need it because they're more exposed to the direct sunlight. But I have a bed of each of these. These soaker hoses I just had for years. I just cut them off. I just use a clamp on the end there to stop that, and that's fine. So I water every other day, and it stays pretty moist. In fact, you can kind of see I did it yesterday, and we're still pretty good on moisture right there. So we're doing okay. So that's my system for watering. It's not drip. It's just whatever I had in the garage that I've utilized. All right. So I was saying earlier, no matter how hard you try, you shouldn't let your cucumbers get this big and turn yellow. But boy, they have a way of camouflaging and hiding behind these large leaves. So this one is pretty big, actually. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to use that or not. I go ahead and call this my laid-back compost pile. So I always take my grass clippings and throw them in here. And I'm not trying to get this up to temperature. I just simply throw it in there and mix it up. And it does quite well. In fact, it's been dry here lately. I probably should have been throwing a little bit more water on that to speed up the process. And this is a nice full pile right here, but I've used about a third of that already on the garden. Probably could put some more in, and then that's just pure grass clippings right there that I turn over once in a while. So I don't really work hard at this. You know, you could make this a hot composting where you get your temperature, what is it, 130, something like that. Get a big old long thermometer. And I might get to that point one day, but for now this just serves really well. I have an abundance of leaves in the fall. I've used all those up, but of course we're only a few months away from me getting a lot more, and if I have extra grass clippings, I either just pile them right there or I put them in plastic bags, and I'll get to using that here a little bit later. One last thing you might ask, do I fertilize? I just use a simple slow release granule 10-10-10. About every 3 or 4 weeks or so I throw about a tablespoon around the base of each plant underneath the mulch, put it back. That's it. It's not Miracle-Gro, it's not high octane stuff. I would prefer natural, and again, this is a work in progress, so maybe next year I'll be working on that a little bit more. And if I didn't mention it earlier, almost all of these plants, except for maybe 2, were started from seed, and that was quite a process too, and I'd like to be able to document that, but that'll be another growing season, as they say. Enjoy this nicer, cooler weather here. Summer not over yet, but this sure feels nice here in early August. Talk to you later.